So good morning, everyone. My name is Liselot. I'm a developer at Wikibase Solutions. And today I want to talk about a situation that sometimes comes up for us when we have to import data into wikis. So for example, when we set up a new wiki for a new customer, they often have some existing data that maybe they've been keeping track of manually in spreadsheets, or it's been exported from different systems and it needs to be moved into the wiki so that they can then continue to manage it from there. Often it's just single spreadsheets or CSV files, which you can import fairly easily with the data transfer extension. But sometimes you're dealing with multiple spreadsheets with data that has sort of references to each other, but they don't always have proper IDs in the data. So for example, there are references to names of people or names of companies which are maybe not unique or could change over time. So you don't want to use these as an ID, but you want to link the data to each other somehow. And I want to explain an example method of how you could do this so that maybe it's useful for other people with the same situation. I am gonna use some examples of wiki text and semantic media wiki queries in the presentation. So it might get a little bit technical, but I've tried to keep it as simple as possible. So here is an example description of data that we would want to import into a wiki. You can see at the top we have a person data set, which has name, email, phone, and name of a company. And then we have a second data set which has companies in it, and it has the name of a company, address, and phone number. So the main thing that is important is that we have the company name in both the company data and in the person data. So we want to link these to each other somehow, but without only using the company name. So to import this data, we have several options. We could, for example, create a custom import script like a PHP or Python script that analyzes the data and then imports it in a way that you want. But this can be quite a lot of work. That can be useful if you're dealing with repeated imports, like if you have to import a similar data set each week, then it's worth the time to write such a script. But if it's just for a single time, you maybe don't want to do it in that way. So you could also import the raw data as it is and just, for example, on a person page, you can query if there is a company with a corresponding company name to create links to that and store properties. But the name might change over time. So for a long-term solution, it's not really recommended. And the method that I want to describe now, it's to combine the data transfer extension with substitution. This is something that can be done as a user in the wiki, so you don't require access to the backend. And it only requires some wiki text, so you don't have to do a lot of coding. And it does require some manual modifications to the spreadsheet, so it's a little bit of work each time if you have to do it multiple times. So let's first look at if we're not thinking of how to import yet, but just thinking about if we have persons and companies, how would we want to set up the templates and relations to each other in the wiki? So on the left, you have an example of a person page, and we would want to just give each person a unique number, like you can see here. And then on the page, you would have a person template and then template parameters similar to the data that you saw in the table before. But there is a difference here because now for the company, we are also referring to the company which has its own unique number. And that's also used as page title for the company, which you can see on the right side. And then the name of the company is only stored on the company page, so you don't have it in both the person and the company data. So now we have to, so a couple of reasons why we would want to use the numbers in the page titles instead of just using the person and company names is that The names could change over time, and names sometimes have characters that don't work well in page titles. So you might have problems in some rare cases with creating links to them. And you also don't really want the users to move pages when they have to change the name of a company, because that might cause issues with, for example, semantic media wiki properties. By the way, I am using semantic media wiki in my example, but you should be able to use a similar method with other extensions, like, for example, Cargo, that also have parser functions for querying. In conclusion, we want to add numbered page titles to the existing data, and then we want to replace the names with the page titles that we generate for each company. So this is what we would want the tables to look like when we import them. You can see on the left, we have to add a column with the page titles, with the unique numbers. This you can do fairly easily in for example, Excel. But we also have to figure out a way to change the company names. So you see here the column with just the regular name, but we want to import the actual page titles that we are also generating. So we have to find a convenient way to do this. And for this, I want to use substitution. So I'll first briefly describe what substitution is for people who may not know about it. Substitution is a core MediaWiki feature where if you use substitution on a page and then you save the page, your wiki text basically gets converted to the parsed output. An example is here when you have a time parser function which outputs a date. If you save this to a page, then the actual value that will be saved to the page will be like the date you can see here. And you can do this for parser functions or with templates or with transcluding pages or magic words. And you can also have nested parser functions, which I'll show on the next slide, but this can become quite complex. So here are a couple more examples where I made some screenshots of the source code editor of a wiki. On the left, you can see some substitution examples. So the first one is the time, as you saw before, and then so if you write this in the source code of a page, then you save the page. Then afterwards, you look at the source code again. You see that it has been replaced by what you see on the right. So this, in this case, a date. Then the second example is on a switch parser function. Then inside of the switch parser function, we are also using the time parser function again. So you can use multiple nested functions like this, but in those cases, you have to make sure to use subst on each one of them, because else it will not work well. So this example, if you would try it on a wiki yourself, you would see if it checks the date, and if it is 27th of March, which is today, it should give as output a conference spring 2026. And if you try it on another day, it should simply output the date of that day. And then finally, another example of using it on a magic word. Well, it basically all works the same way. It's the normal way that you would write a parser function or a magic word, but then you add subst at the beginning of it. So now we want to use this somehow to, in our import, to convert the names of companies to company page titles. On the left, you see just a regular example of an ask parser function. It's often convenient to first write it in a regular way without subst, so that you can test if it's giving the correct output. And then when it's doing what you want, you add subst to it. And so this is a query that just queries pages of class company, which I'm setting is a property I'm setting through the company template. and then it queries the name that should correspond to a name parameter that we're passing to it. And then you have to add subs to it, and you also have to add include only tags in this case, because else the subs will actually activate on the template source code, which you don't want. You just want this source code to remain the same, and the subs should only work when you are calling the template from another page. So this is an example of when we use our template in the source code of a wiki page. We use subs get company, we pass the name green world to it, then we save the page, then we look at what's in the source code after saving, and you will see that it's been replaced by the company page title, like you can see here. So now we want to do our actual import. For this, so we have to import persons and companies, but it's important to do the companies first, because then you can query them when importing the persons. So that one is quite simple because we don't have to use subs yet. So we simply use the table that we got initially. We have to add the title column to the left. Make sure the headers are set appropriately in the way that the data transfer extension wants you to do. So for each header of a column, you will have the template name and then between the brackets a template parameter. Then when this is done, you go to special import spreadsheet and you upload a file there. And then the import is handled through jobs. So depending on how your wiki is configured, you might have to wait a while until all the jobs are finished. Or if you have access to the server, you could activate a run job script manually to get it done faster. And you can check your contributions to see if the import is working, or if basically all of the page creations will be just added to your contribution. So you can see if something's happening. And when the companies are finished, we can then start importing the person data. So for this, we first have to prepare the person spreadsheet. We have to add a title column, which you can see here on the left. That's similar to what we had to do with the companies. But now we also have to do something else. On the right side, you can see the company column. Here we have to add our substitution template call. And by using this in our spreadsheet, we will ensure that when we import this data, the substitution will be activated and that names will be converted to the company page titles. And to easily fill this entire column, you could use, for example, in Excel, you can use this concatenate function. So you can just copy paste the same value to each cell in this column, and you don't have to do manual work to get the correct names in there. Then when that's finished, we just go to a special import spreadsheet again and import the file and wait for the import to finish. Then after it's done, we can review the results. So we can query our persons, for example, with the query you can see on the left. We are querying the all persons and then returning the name and the import company. I used import company as a property where I'm storing the literal name that was in the original person data. And then I also have a company property, and that's where the page title of the company is stored in. And on the right side, you can see the results. And you can see that not all of them have been linked to companies yet, because in the right column there are some empty cells. In my example, I imported 20 persons, but only 7 of them got linked to companies. So we have to do some more work to improve this. So for this, I want to, let's go back to the other first. You can see, for example, here you have global foods with a space. Here you have global foods without a space. Here you have Global Food Ltd. This is the reason that not all of them got matched to companies, because some of them have different spellings of the same company name, basically. So now we can try to improve our queries. For this, I first modified my template company, which I was previously just setting a name property with the name of the company. Now adding another property to it, which I've called name normalized. And here I'm converting the name into all lowercase and also removing spaces from the name. And the intention is that different spelling variations of the same name should result in the same normalized name. So you can, as you can see here on the right, for the Green World company. Then when we've done that, we can use the name normalized in our queries as well. So this is a little bit complex. I will just explain some parts of it. So template get company is the substitution template that we were using to convert company names into the page titles of companies. You can see at first, the first query we are doing is just the same we were doing before, is to try to find companies with the exact same name as that we had in the person data. Then you can see here as default of the query. So if we don't get any results to the query, then the default will be activated. But in this case, we only matched 7 out of 20 persons to companies. And then went on to the next slide to try to improve our queries to get more persons matched to companies. So it's getting a little bit complicated. I won't go through all of it, but we have first one query that's the same as we were doing before. We're trying to find a company with the exact same name as in the person data. And then as default of this query, so when we don't get any results, it will fall back to the default. There we're doing another query. And here we are trying to match it to the normalized company name, which should give us more matches. Then as default of this query, we are doing one more query, and there we're trying to basically match the names partially to the company name. And you can also see here with the blue underline, I've used the query outro to actually add another parameter that will end up in the source code of the pages that we create. It has, I've called it import warning, and then as value, for example, matched by partial normalized name. So we can use this afterwards to review these with these warning to see if they've actually been linked to companies correctly, because you might end up with persons being accidentally matched to companies that just have similar names, but that they are actually different companies. So after we have imported everything, if you look at, sorry, this is just one person example that what it could look like after importing. So it's similar to what we've seen before, except now we might also end up with this import warning parameter as well. So to do the person import again, we just have to save our changes that we did to template get company and then repeat the same steps. So you go to special import spreadsheet again, and you can just use the exact same spreadsheet again for the import because we've only made changes to the template. And with a new template, managed to improve it from 7 out of 20 to 18 out of 20 persons that got linked to companies. Now to find the remaining ones that did not get linked to companies yet, you can use a query like you can see here. So I'm trying to query the company property, but I'm using the exclamation mark and plus sign, and this will actually give us results that have no company property. So I found these two persons which have again different spelling variations of the same companies, which did not get matched by my improved queries yet. So you could modify the queries further to try to get these linked as well. I did not do that in this case. You also have to be a little bit careful because like the more variations you allow, the more risk you get that you're also actually linking things to different companies that have similar names. And this is an example of what the imported data looks like. So it's persons with name. I did also import the company name from the original data. Then we have the company where it's linked to the pages, and some of them now also have this import warning. So if you want to, you can use this to review those to see if it's been done correctly. And another thing we could do is you could use Lua, because we saw in their template before with the 3 nested ask parser functions, the code was getting very complicated. And at this point, it's probably better to use Lua. Now, I'm not going to fully explain this, but if you do want to use Lua, then you would take template get company and you would just remove the content of it and replace it with an invoke parser function you can see here. And the nice thing about this is you only have to use subst in the invoke, and then inside the Lua module you can do everything as you are used to with Lua. So I have also included a Lua example here, but I'm not going to go through it because it's too much for the presentation. I just wanted to add it here as an example, so if people want to, you can look at it afterwards. So in conclusion, I hope to have shown you that the basic import, where we are just matching the names exactly, it was very simple, and it can be extended to include spelling differences. And I've not shown examples of other extensions, but it should also work similarly with other extensions, like for example, Cargo, that have similar querying parser functions. So that's all that I wanted to say. And does anyone have any questions?
All right, thank you. That was great. I apologize for the sound issues. Yes, we do have at least one question in the room.
Hi, Liselot. That was a really interesting, tutorial or set of hacks, I guess. I don't know if you'd call it a hack, but I'll put in. I'm Roelen. I'll put in a link to the video and slides and the data transfer documentation. My question is. Well, a suggestion, I guess, you should consider, maybe you have, using a Visual Basic macro instead to do the substitution, assuming you're using, Microsoft Excel or LibreOffice. That way.
You mean for the part where you're trying to get the substitution call into the spreadsheet? I'm just going back to it, if I can find it. No. Oh, like this one to get this column with the substitution calls. Is that what you're talking about?
No, to directly replace each company name with its ID.
Yes. I've not considered it. I don't have a lot of experience with that, but that would be useful.
It's a lot like Lua, actually. It's a pretty harmless language, Visual Basic. Yeah, that way it's more foolproof. You can be guaranteed that it looks the right way before you even start doing the import. So yeah, it could potentially be another option.
Okay, thanks for that.
Awesome. Do we have any other questions in the room or on the live stream? I'm sure the live stream has lots of questions, like what happened.
No, just thumbs up about hearing now. So.
Okay, thumbs up. Okay, cool. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And again, I apologize for all of the technical troubles. Awesome.
Yeah, that's all right.
Thank
you
you
for listening.